This is just, I don't, I'm sorry to devote so much to this shit tonight. I really am. But the latest one comes from Roger Stone. This guy is a shit stirrer without equal. He's on the Trump team now. Bill and Hillary Clinton have been plagued by conspiracy theories throughout most of their life in the public eye, perhaps more than any other politicians in history. The Clinton bullshit files are a weekly, in-depth look at the stories behind some of these conspiracy theories. During last week's debate, Hillary Clinton closed out the evening by talking about Donald Trump's misogyny. She reminded the audience that he has called women pig slobs and dogs. And he thought Miss Alicia Machado, former Miss Universe, was so fat he was justified in calling her Miss Piggy. Trump's spluttering response was, I was going to say something extremely rough to Hillary, to her family, and I said to myself, I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's inappropriate. It's not nice. In case there was any doubt, what he was talking about was her husband's infidelities. And, of course, why Bill Clinton's pecker should disqualify her from pointing out that Trump is a misogynist is hard for most people to understand. But the right-wingers think that's a brilliant, killer argument. How such people, and we're referring here to Trump followers, how such people get there requires a lot of pretzel logic, so bear with me. They start with a false premise that feminism requires that no other woman ever say an uncharitable thing about another woman. This has never actually been a requirement of feminism, or how could we criticize women like Sarah Palin or Phyllis Schlafly? This is written by Amanda Marcotte at Salon. Then they zero in on the fact that Clinton said not nice things on occasion about her husband's mistresses. Then they pretend to be all appalled about what a terrible sexist she is and claim she can no longer be allowed to say anything about real sexism ever again. Saturday night, Trump himself kind of hat-tipped this conspiracy bullshit. He told a Pennsylvania crowd, quote, I don't even think she's loyal to Bill. You want to know the truth? Really, folks, really. Why should you be, right? It's a fun theory for those trying to demonize the Clintons, but the existence of Chelsea, who looks for all the world like an exact combination of her two parents, throws a wrench into attempts to deny that the Clintons are essentially a normal nuclear family. So the fringe right has come up with an alternative. A man named Webb Hubble. Remember him? One typical website reads it this way. So if Hillary was not having sex with Bill Clinton, then who is she having sex with? Answer, Webb Hubble, Vince Foster, and a string of lesbian lovers. Remember Webb Hubble? He came to the attention of the nutball right during the era when they were trying to turn Whitewater into a national scandal for the Clintons. In the seemingly endless and partisan investigations of the Clintons' business dealings in Arkansas, it was discovered that Hubble, a friend of the Clintons, had overcharged clients and illegally taken money from the Rose Law Firm when he and Hillary Clinton both worked there. This discovery eventually led to Hubble's conviction and the loss of his job at the Department of Justice. For years afterwards, federal prosecutor Ken Starr kept investigating and leveling charges against Hubble in a fruitless bid to pressure Hubble to cough up evidence of illegal behavior on the part of the Clintons. That ended in 1999 when Starr's fishing expedition came to a merciful end. So why Hubble? Why would these right-wing nutballs suggest that Hubble is Chelsea Clinton's father? Oh, my fucking word. Well, it probably goes back to a passage from Hillary Clinton's famous book, It Takes a Village, which the right-wingers really hated. Here's a quote. The conspiracy theorists are probably right that the burly ex-football player is Hubble, who was playing for the Arkansas Razorbacks when they defeated Georgia at the Sugar Bowl in 1969. Also in this passage, Clinton also gently teases her husband and other fathers-to-be for sitting silently, arms crossed defensively in Lamaze classes. At some point, some right-wing nut must have glommed onto the difference between Bill Clinton's wariness about babies and Hubble's apparent enthusiasm and decided that Hubble has to be the father. The possibility that a man could just like babies, even if they aren't his, is apparently beyond the grasp of the fringe right imagination. Well, sure. You know, the political right and the religious right, they fucking hate children. They hate them. They hate them all. That's why religious law, even today, although the Muslims have almost an exclusive, well, not an exclusive claim, but close to it on this, religious law dictates that children are just little fucking demons, and when they do something bad, the Christians believe you beat the shit out of them, and some of the fundamental Muslims believe you just cut their heads off. Of course, this particular bullshit theory runs right up against the fact that anybody can see that Chelsea Clinton looks like her father. So how do these wackos get around that? In the grossest way imaginable, of course, by accusing Chelsea of getting cosmetic surgery to make her face look more like Bill's.
When she was how old? 4?
Yeah, in Roger Stone's book, he repeatedly accuses Chelsea of getting, quote, extensive plastic surgery in her 20s. In an August 21st speech caught by Media Matters, Stone was at it again. He said, now Chelsea, their daughter, who is, as I say in this book, The Clintons' War on Women, Chelsea is actually the daughter of Webb Hubble and Hillary Clinton. You can see this based on a series of photographs. Hillary admits in her own book that a large football player-sized man taught her the proper way to hold a baby. Who could that be? And if you look at her, she doesn't look anything like Bill.
What?
She looks just like her daddy, Webb, despite 4 plastic surgeries, the youngest one when she was only 18. What 18-year-old gets plastic surgery unless you're trying to, I don't know, thin out the lips and make you look less like your real daddy? Oh, my God. Stone is considered to be a top advisor to the Republican presidential nominee. He was pushed out as a Trump campaign official last year, but he continues to head up one of the biggest pro-Trump PACs. Reports suggest that he plays a major role in advising the campaign. He speaks with Trump on a regular basis. The whole strategy of using Clinton's infidelities, along with insinuations about darker sexualized conspiracy theories, is a way to distract voters from Trump's actual sexism, is exactly the sort of politics that Roger Stone specializes in. Oh, my God. It just doesn't. I have to, Kathy, have you got some music? I'm going to take a little break here and come back and talk about something that is...
Yeah, I do. But before we break, I just was reading something someone sent me about, tomorrow Julian Assange is making his 10th anniversary address from an undisclosed location, I guess, in Ecuador or Berlin or Russia.
He's in the Ecuadorian embassy.
Yeah, well, apparently...
in London.
Whatever. And apparently, I don't know. I mean, one of the theories is that, according to some twittering, is that he's going to reveal a State Department document of a conversation that was held about what to do about WikiLeaks, in which Hillary Clinton suggested a targeted drone strike. Now, we'll just see if that happened to be true.
WikiLeaks is
if that happened to be true, it would certainly explain why Julian Assange has kind of a hard-on for Hillary if he thought she was sending.
WikiLeaks is a series of documents that went to newspapers on 3 continents. What the fuck?
No, but against Assange, against him personally.
Oh, they're going to drone strike the Ecuadorian embassy.
Well, I think this was before he was maybe there.
No, he's been there. He's been there since
10 years.
No, he's been there for 4 years. Ever since the first document dump, when the Swedish women, at the behest of the CIA, tried to charge him with rape, which they have now dropped all the charges. They said it was all bullshit.
It just keeps getting stranger and stranger.
Right, so,
well, if there is some State Department classified, unclassified, one of the email apparently that was included in the 150,000 email the FBI still had but didn't release may or may not show that Hillary suggested in a State Department hearing or inquired about the possibility of a targeted drone strike, maybe when he left the embassy, against Assange, which would explain why he didn't like her so much if it turned out to be true.
No, he didn't like her because she called him a traitor and a disgrace.
Tried to send a drone up his butt.
Like everybody in America, every politician in America, right and left, called him that at the beginning. So, Julian Assange, this is an example of what happens when you're held in solitary confinement, even if you have a little apartment where you can't see the sun. He looks like something that's been living under a rock. I hate to issue an ad hominem attack against this fuckwad, but he's over the edge. He's not like Snowden. He's not like Chelsea Manning. Assange, I don't know. He's gone nuts.
Now, I don't disagree that, the man is a little pasty, but I have to ask, did you think it was over the edge and nuts when he released the documents this summer that took down Debbie Wasserman Schultz and 4 other staffers that showed that Sanders supporters were right all along? There was a concerted effort to be pro-Hillary against a Bernie fair and square primary?
I think that any time documents like this that are used to interfere with an election, it kind of sucks.
Well, does it suck, though, if they're bringing that kind of a truth to light? I mean, don't the American people just need to know when there are underhanded efforts to defeat Bernie Sanders?
Well, as near as I remember what was revealed, and I'm not defending Wasserman Schultz or the DNC at all, but if I remember what was revealed was that Wasserman Schultz orchestrated in the DNC efforts to lessen the exposure that Sanders would get. There was no oh, fuck it.
Yeah, that's only part of it. No, there were actual documents that showed, and I mean, this is all public record now, thanks to WikiLeaks, but there are actual documents that showed email conversations between Wasserman's other 3 staffers who also resigned at the same time.
Now remember, that's a result of a phone hack. That has nothing to do with WikiLeaks documents.
Okay, but
that's a result. Now wait, stop. That's a result of a Russian phone hack. I don't give a shit if anybody else believes this. I'm absolutely convinced this is Putin's KGB, whatever it's called now, who got into these phone calls and memos and then handed them to their buddy Assange, who then, because this is Putin trying to influence our election. So call it what you want. Whatever.
Okay, what I'm saying is that the documents reveal that these other staffers were emailing each other back and forth about, can't we say this about Bernie, and can't we show that they're coming unhinged and they've never been organized?
What is wrong? Now, don't get me wrong. Just answer me. What is wrong with inside any political campaign, they talk among themselves about tricks against their opponent? That's never happened before,
It wasn't supposed to be their opponent.
What are you talking about? Of course it was their opponent. In a primary.
These aren't people who worked for Hillary.
What?
These are people who worked for Wasserman Schultz. These are people who worked for the Democratic National Committee.
No, you're very wrong. I mean, that's ostensibly who they worked for. But anyone who worked for Wasserman Schultz had only the interests of Hillary Clinton as their focus.
Exactly, but
Okay.
that wasn't supposed to be how it is. They were claiming they were fair and impartial, and they were
Okay.
doing everything fairly and above board to elevate both
Okay.
candidates equally.
What did they do to Sanders?
Well, they were putting out all kind of false stories in the press about how disorganized they were scheming among themselves to say, well, let's leak this and let's talk about this, and can't we spin it this way about, well, we'd like to have a debate on such and such a date, but Sanders people are so disorganized they can't get it together.
Are sitting around in one political camp trying to figure out how to.
But they were not supposed to be in one political camp.
Trying to figure out how to short circuit another. Look, these
are not Hillary staffers.
Hey, calm down. Anybody who worked for Wasserman Schultz worked for Hillary.
They weren't supposed to be.
Well, of course they weren't.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what, when you're looking at me with this view of, well, isn't that what they're supposed to do when it's their opponent? No, they weren't supposed to be their opponent.
I think
they
you're
were supposed to be.
Misunderstanding, or else you're missing completely what I'm trying to say. Wasserman Schultz was so corrupt that she.
But they were pretending not to be corrupt.
I don't give a shit what they were pretending.
But no, that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Okay, let's take a break.
They had to resign for a reason. They didn't resign because it was a Tuesday. You know, they resigned because they were corrupt, but the only reason they were proven to be corrupt and the only reason they were I'm not going to shut up. The only reason they were forced to resign was because WikiLeaks, I don't care if it was via Putin or via Mars, WikiLeaks had information that showed that this supposedly impartial Democratic National Committee, as headed by Wasserman Schultz, was trying deliberately to throw the primary for Hillary. Now that's public record, public knowledge, and I'll just keep talking to an empty chair. But that's on the record. It's public knowledge. It's public information. And, so whatever. I guess I'll play music.